In this section we are going to learn how to create our own directives. We will start by building a very simple directive. Then we'll try to understand how the scope of a directive works. Next, we'll show how we can interact from a directive with the parent scope. Understanding what transclusion means and how we can use it is the next topic. Finally, we'll learn how to test a directive. In this video, we will create a simple directive that shows the concept. A directive is created by registering a function with Angular. We use the directive method of the application module to do so. The first parameter of this method is the name of the directive, and the second one the function defining the directive. The function has to return an object. This object defines a template property in its most basic variant. The template is the content that will be placed at the position where we will use the directive. Now we can use this directive in our view. Let's add it to the body of the index.html that I have already prepared. When loading the page in the browser, it will look like this. Let's make the template a bit more complex. We want to draw a card with source and target. This is the HTML snippet we are going to use. Note that I am using data binding to bind to a source and a target property of the parent controller. The two CSS classes I'm using I have defined in a card.css file that I'm linking my view to. We also have to add an ngController directive to the body tag referring to main controller. Now the directive looks like this. Directives can not only be used as attributes but also as element or tags and as class names. To define which version we can use, we can add the restrict property to the directive object. A stands for attribute, E for element, and C for class. In our case, we restrict usage to either attribute or element. We can now use our directive in two ways. Admittedly, the template code of our directive looks a bit unwieldy. It's often better to use an external template, for example a file called card.html, where we define the template. We then load it by using the template URL instead of the template property. Here is the content of the card template. In conclusion, a directive is defined by registering a function that returns an object with Angular. The object has either a property template or template URL, which define the layout of the directive inline or externally. We can use data binding to bind to models on the scope of the parent controller. We can define how the directive can be used as attribute, element, or class name. In the next video, we are trying to understand the scope of a directive.